Hello, welcome to the inaugural edition of Baking Bakers. I'm Nathan, this is my mom,
Lisa,
and we're here to share with you one of our favorite kind of fall recipes, but we'll explain that in just a second. So as you can tell, we're pretty big Ohio State fans around here, and I don't know when you're seeing this, but right now we're a couple of days ahead of the college football national championship game, and one of the things that we have to have for every major Ohio State football game is Buckeyes. And so we're going to walk you through how we make Buckeyes with just a little bit of an added twist to what you might be used to, and get them ready for the game on Monday.
Yeah, so the first thing we like to do is make sure everything's clean. Hands are clean, work surfaces clean, bowls are clean. And then it's good to get all of your ingredients out and have them ready to go. So
it's faster for the video. We just have everything pre-portioned here, but we'll tell you what everything is. I think I'll probably type the recipe down in the description below, so if this is something you want to try and make, you'll have all the measurements and stuff there. But
so first thing, I'm going to put the peanut butter and the softened butter in my very large bowl. I use a very large bowl because mixing it can get sort of messy, and so the bigger the bowl, the better. 1 stick
of softened butter, which in my case is usually out of the refrigerator into the microwave until it's not quite all melted. And then we're adding a 1.5 cups of peanut butter.
Smooth peanut butter.
I suppose you could use crunchy, but we use smooth. We're gonna put in a teaspoon of vanilla. Somebody's ringing.
Sorry.
And action, take 2. We're gonna need one of those little clapper thingies.
I know, right? Anyway. How fun will that
be? Sorry about that interruption. Anyway, so we've got the butter and the peanut butter mixing in here. We're going to add in a teaspoon of vanilla, and this is homemade vanilla here.
Yes.
That's a couple-year-old project.
Yeah, another project for another day.
Anyway, half a teaspoon of salt.
Salt sort of balances the sweetness.
Okay, so we'll get that all mixed together. And then powdered sugar.
So powdered sugar for this project, it calls for 4 3/4 cups, but I don't put that much in at one time. I'll put about half of it in, or a third, or somewhere in there, mix it in, and then you just keep adding until your heart tells you it's the right consistency.
Should be about 1 pound when you're done. But yeah, this is why we have a big bowl, because powdered sugar is messy. And so she's going to keep mixing that. While she does that, I'm going to get the next ingredient ready. And this is where we differ from what you may have seen. If you're from Ohio, you know what Buckeyes are. If you're not from Ohio, you may have never seen these before. But anyway, we like to add a little bit of crunch to the Buckeyes. And so the best way I have found to do that is to take some of these here Reese's Pieces, put them in a plastic bag, get yourself a hammer, and crush them up a little bit. Once you get them all, you don't have to be fine powder, but you just want them all broken. You don't want any whole ones. And then we will mix those in once she's done with the powdered sugar here.
Because the only thing better than candy is candy with inside candy.
This is true. Don't use the serrated edges of your meat hammer to do this. You'll poke holes in your bag. Okay, should look about like that. Now, Mom's mixing here. Eventually you have to stop using the spatula and use your fingers. So we have already
That's why we start with clean hands. All right, bud.
Ready? Oh yeah, we got a long ways to go.
If you're making these for
sale
or for other places, I highly recommend using gloves for this.
I am going to eat 90% of these, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely need more powdered sugar.
All right. Sorry.
It's all right.
Right on the hand. It's a little intimidating to do it, but it's really not that difficult. The hardest thing is figuring out the perfect consistency for rolling them into balls that are going to hold their shape.
Okay, so we're going to get all of this incorporated here, and then we're going to put in our Reese's Pieces. I don't use this big of a bowl at my house when I'm making these, and it feels like I'm not making very many at all here.
Meanwhile, if you're not familiar what a Buckeye is, these are Buckeyes. They grow natively around here, and they are the mascot for the Ohio State team. So Ohio State Buckeyes. So they're pretty, everybody in Ohio mostly knows what they are, but if you're in Michigan, maybe not so much.
If you're from Michigan, you should stop watching a while ago, probably. Okay, we're making progress here. If you get it too dry, you can add a little extra peanut butter, a little butter. It might be a little bit, but I keep mixing it in. I'm not ready for that yet.
Okay. Somebody tighten this jar too much.
Okay.
The secret ingredient.
As
We
far
don't
as
measure those either.
Get that box. That's how much I usually put in. One box, 4 ounces.
Half a cup, crushed.
Something like that.
Sometimes, to vary it a little bit, we'll use Rice Krispies instead of the Reese's Pieces, but they don't age as well. The Rice Krispies get a little bit soggy,
Yeah.
so this is the best bet.
Okay. I think we need just a little bit of peanut butter.
All right. And by a little bit, we just...
About that much.
Yeah.
It's just a little crumbly. I don't want it to fall apart.
While he's doing that, I prepared some trays. I put either wax paper or parchment paper on it. And then you just start rolling balls.
Correct. Okay, this is all mixed. It is pretty good. Now, the next step here is to pinch off a little bit, kind of clump it together, roll it, maybe a couple of times, till you get something like those.
Mine's a little bigger.
And then you put them on there. All right, I'm gonna wash my hands because I got something else to show you for a minute here.
If you're making them for a crowd, you can make them a little smaller. If you're making them for your family, you can make them a little bit bigger. They last a long time just at room temperature. We freeze them oftentimes, so we can just pull them out of the freezer, or the kids can think they're sneaking them out of the freezer, but we always know.
All right, you keep making Buckeyes, rolling them up there. We're gonna head over to the stove and start the chocolate melting process. All right, so we've moved over to the stove here, and we have a double boiler setup. So I don't know if you're not familiar with this. Basically, we have a larger pan. There's some water in the bottom of it. Is that enough water? That's not. Yeah. I usually put more water than that. Okay, and then we have this top one that fits on top of here. And in there we have a chunk of paraffin wax. That's the secret ingredient to making your Buckeyes look good. Oop, wrong one. And not be sticky. So we're gonna turn that on and let it start to boil that water and heat up this pan, and eventually it'll melt that paraffin, and then we'll start adding our chocolate. While that heats up, we'll keep making the Buckeyes over here. Of course, if you don't have a double boiler to melt your chocolate and paraffin wax in there, you can always you know, try and microwave it, which we have done, or they have candy melters. I've used that before. There's lots of ways to melt chocolate, so.
You did really well with this consistency. Perfect.
This is also the point in the recipe where we would never, ever recommend trying
Tasting it. Under no circumstances. Raw peanut butter, you know. And if you're very health conscious, just know that this has tons of protein. It's got dairy, calcium from the butter. I mean, it's practically a health food.
All right, I don't know if you can tell, but our boiling and our paraffin wax here is melting. So, time to add some chocolate. Okay, so for chocolate, we're gonna use this full bag of semi-sweet chocolate chips, morsels. You can use different kinds. I have tried milk chocolate before. You kind of need the semi-sweet ones to counteract the sweetness from the Buckeyes here, so that's our preference. The advantage of the double boiler is that it keeps from burning the bottom of the pan and the chocolate, so you don't have that direct heat source on it. It's a more even melt and heat. So we'll give them a few minutes to melt here. While we do that, we've got one sheet of the Buckeyes rolled, so I'm gonna actually stick this in the freezer if I can find room for it, just to get them cooled down a little bit. It helps the chocolate solidify to them a little bit faster once we're ready for that. Okay, so we've got our chocolate nice and smooth here. It is melted. I turned the heat way down on this, so it just keeps it melted, but we don't get it too hot. And I sort of tipped that top pan a little bit so that it kind of forms pool in the corner there. We got our Buckeyes out of the freezer. They probably weren't in there long enough, but it'll help. So we're gonna take a toothpick, stab it like that, and we're gonna dip it in, but not all the way in. You wanna leave that one side exposed. Set it back on your paper, grab the next one. These are not exactly organized rows over here, Mom.
I know. I didn't think we needed an exact count.
And we're down to our last one here. We don't have a lot of chocolate left, but we'll make it work. The spots on them got a little bigger as the pile of chocolate got a little smaller. Okay.
So this made about 52 Buckeyes, but we are a little bit more picky than this. We don't like this. So what we're gonna do,
if you're making these for some sort of presentation, not just for your own enjoyment, we recommend going through and just covering up the holes so that they look pretty. I usually wait until after they've been in the fridge for an hour or two to get a little firmer so you don't mess up the chocolate, but
something like that. We did this in roughly a half an hour. It doesn't take a ton of time. And boy, are they good.
So, whether you're getting ready for the next big Buckeye game or you just want a nice sweet treat to enjoy, there's our Buckeye recipe. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Questions, comments, feedback, leave that in the comments section down below. We'll be back next week with something else. I don't know what we're cooking next week. You got any ideas?
To be decided.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, Mom.
Thanks for tuning in.
See you guys. It's your kitchen, so you got all the cleanup, right?
I don't mind.
That's what you're supposed to say.
Oh,